The rape and murder of a 31-year-old trainee doctor in the Arjikar Medical Hospital and College has led to a series of events in Bengal. With the accused arrested, the polygraph test conducted, call recordings accessed, as well as widespread protests, it perhaps would not be wrong to argue that the situation in Bengal is far from normal. With protesters clashing with policemen, lathis charged and water cannons fired, the situation seems to have taken a sour turn. As the situation in TMC ruled West Bengal worsens, one thing is very evident, which is the political ruckus around the gruesome rape and murder of a 31-year-old trainee doctor, justice for whom seems engulfed in political chaos and blame game now, with West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee making provocative statements against the Prime Minister and even threatening violence in other states and cities. The lack of accountability on her own part is now more evident than ever before. Despite having considerable powers, the CM chooses to blame lack of discretion and the centre on all that is unfolding in West Bengal, instead of focusing on subjects like police, law and order, as well as health, which lie under her very jurisdiction. The questions that prop up is, how is Bengal going to function if acting political functionaries invest their time, energy and resources in blame game instead of focusing on the change that they could bring with the powers handed to them? We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the show at this point in time is Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, former diplomat. Chandrachud Ghosh, author and historian, also joins us on the broadcast. Abhishek Banerjee, political analyst, with us on the program as well. Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, I'll begin with you. Well, you know what's happening in West Bengal. Of course, I'm not talking about the rape and murder of that trainee doctor, but what's happening in terms of the government's stance and position at this point in time, ma'am, is very similar to what we are also used to seeing in Delhi. If anything goes wrong, you start a blame game, you tip it over to the center and completely deflect and deviate from the topic at hand. But perhaps in West Bengal, ma'am, you being a Bengali, you would understand that, it is a beloved state. It is a state that has lost its sheen in a number of departments in the last few years. In Bengal, it seems that rather than focusing on the solutions, there is a problem for every solution. Ambassador Mukherjee.
Well, I would like to state the following. First of all, the issue here is that a heinous rape took place inside a highly prestigious hospital in Calcutta. The door handle did not work for 1 month. Nobody fixed it. There was an effort at a cover-up. Parents were not told clearly in the beginning what had happened, and it took a very long time to file an FIR, which is why the Supreme Court intervened. So that's one aspect of the case. The protests that are going on in West Bengal is to demand security for women, particularly medicos, young doctors who have to do their 2 years compulsory residency before they are allowed to practice. That's one issue. The other issue, which is much more serious, is that the Chief Minister of West Bengal, with whom I have personally an excellent relationship, seems to have completely lost her cool and has made statements which are inimical to India's national security interests. At a time when the regime change has taken place in Bangladesh, and we are using our border security force to hold back millions of people who want to cross, and will make then West Bengal, my home state, once more into what it was like in 1971, which I vividly remember. And this is not the time for the Chief Minister of West Bengal to talk about fire spreading across the northeast and the neighboring states, etc., etc. She should acknowledge that there was a goof up and direct the administration to ensure that this doesn't happen again. And nobody is accusing West Bengal to be the home of rape, because I can assure you that till a short time ago, West Bengal was a very safe place for ladies to come back home alone at night without any problem, because we worship Durga and Kali. They represent Shakti, the strength of women. That's what we Bengalis do. So here, nobody is accusing West Bengal personally. People are pointing out that there were a whole series of goof-ups which should not happen a second time. She should not take it personally. She is the Chief Minister. She should fix responsibility on those who are responsible. Unfortunately, she initially tried also to even save the director of the hospital. That had a very poor impact on women's public opinion in Bengal and across India. Because women said, what is this? This man, he has been just transferred to another prestigious hospital when he is as head of administration. I'm not saying whether he is responsible for the physical rape of the person, that the court will bring out. But he is responsible for a whole series of very serious administrative errors which led to this poor lady's body being cremated with undue haste, not even allowing the parents to do any puja or to come to terms with their loss. So I'm sorry. My advice to Mamata Didi, as I call her, is please calm down. Please understand that what has happened in West Bengal is something that has never happened earlier. It should never happen again. And please don't take out your temper on the neighboring states, because if indeed what you say happens, who will you make happy but India's worst enemies, Pakistan and China? They would love to see the east of India and northeast of India burning. Is that what any patriotic chief minister would want? I don't think so. Which is why I always say that whether you're in politics or anywhere else, don't speak when you are angry. Cool down and then talk. Because when you are in such an important position and you speak when you are angry, your words can cause havoc, not just within India, but outside India.
All right, let's also get a response from Abhishek Banerjee on this. Abhishek, how would you categorize Mamata Banerjee's demeanor in the face of what has happened in West Bengal? She's indicated towards anarchy. She's indicated towards, Manipur and Delhi and some of the neighboring states burning. If the BJP continues to do what it's doing in West Bengal, this is obviously not becoming of a chief minister who's got a grave crisis at hand. If when Nirbhaya happened in Delhi in 2012, that was perhaps the undoing to a large extent of the Congress party as well, and their response and those water cannons against protesters pretty much seal the deal or seal their fate for the next elections. Do you think Mamata Banerjee is also falling under the same trap?
Yeah, so anybody who listens to Mamata Banerjee's statements will realize that completely lost her cool and is making these destabilizing remarks about other states, Assam and Odisha. And the one thing that I would point out is that not many have noticed that she actually mentioned that there will be fire spreading to Jharkhand. Jharkhand is actually ruled by her own India Alliance allies, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha and Congress. So I wonder what the India Alliance partners of TMC have to say on that. But, as you can imagine, it is a very highly responsible statement, and it shows that the chief minister has totally lost her cool. Now, why is this happening? It is because after this heinous incident, it has acted as this, the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. So, a lot of things had been, pushed under the carpet for almost a decade, and the anger was just building and building. And, when this crime happened, this heinous incident happened, it just acted as the last proverbial last straw, and people's anger just burst out. And the role of the state government in this case was so shady. The very first thing that should be pointed out is that the principal accused in this case is a civic volunteer, which is like nobody really knows what that is. It exists in some kind of shadow zone between a private citizen and a government employee, because these people, they have like police powers. They act as if they have police powers, but they are not police. They are employed in some very strange, like daily capacity or some. Yeah, and most people think that how they are selected, how they are appointed, nobody really understands. So these could really just be party people who are being hired because their government is in power. And but he went, and there were reports that he had gone and slept in the police barrack right after committing this incident. Then we heard something like he had access to Kolkata police vehicles, something of that sort was being said. So who are these people? What is a civic volunteer? I'm really not sure what is the constitutional/legal status of these people. Now then of course the case which has been repeatedly mentioned that previously the hospital administration tried to say that it is a suicide. Then there was this case where the principal was rewarded so shamelessly for his failure, right? So when he was made to resign. I think within 4 or 5 hours he was appointed as principal of National Medical College, which kind of gave the message, the signal to the whole of people in Bengal that the government is standing with this principal and will defend him no matter what. And I think that is the moment that acted as the trigger. The government really does not care, and they do not fear anybody. They do not fear public outrage. They do not fear the media. They have nothing to worry about. And so the anger since then has just been building and building and building.
Chandrachud Ghosh is also with us on the program. Chandrachud, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Well, Bengal is on the boil at this point in time. What do you make of Mamata Banerjee and some of the things that she said publicly as well as on social media that don't really fit in with the kind of mood and the somberness that West Bengal, or rather TMC or her government, should be exuding at this point in time?
Yeah, Vinith, you are right. I mean, the words that she pronounced yesterday in a meeting of the student organization of the ruling party, the Trinamool Chhatra Parishad, they are deplorable, and they reflect a certain desperation. And it's understandable to an extent because she is facing a situation. A situation has arisen in Kolkata and throughout Bengal that has not happened in many decades. The state is seeing a widespread uprising the expression of popular discontent, cutting across political parties, cutting across sections of the society, where people have taken to the streets. And it is more than 2 weeks that people have been on the streets protesting, standing beside the doctors who have been on strike. Now, I mean, this anger is a culmination of the anger that has been building up over the last probably 7-8 years in response to a systemic corruption. People have been noticing, the huge amount of corruption in education, in public distribution system, and the worst of all probably was the revelation that took place at the beginning of this year in Sandeshkhal. It's not being discussed too much now, but whatever came out was a pure horror story. So, the first response of the state government has, in all these cases, been that of a denial, rather than an approach to fix the system, to catch the culprits and to punish those who are responsible. It has been that of a denial and accusation towards the central government of conspiracy to destabilize the government. So there's a certain amount of paranoia that is visible, that has been visible throughout this period. And that's not gone down well with the people. Now, this incident that happened in RG Kaur Medical College, it has shaken the collective conscience of the society to such an extent. There is always a tipping point, and probably this was the tipping point which has brought out an unified protest. Political parties are playing their roles. They will, of course, they will do that. It is their responsibility. It is their function. They will do that. But other than political parties, there has been, I won't say an apolitical or non-political, because people are protesting against the state government. They are calling for people's resignation. They are criticizing in no uncertain terms. There is no couching in sophisticated language to bring down people who have been trying to hush up the whole thing. And there are plenty of indicators in the public domain now, visible to everybody who is keeping an eye on what is going on, that there has been a very, very systemic effort to cover up this whole incident, which is not an isolated incident, but probably is a result of, it's strongly linked to systemic corruption in the healthcare sector. I mean, it was very shocking to see the state's chief minister coming out in defense of the principal of the college, who had resigned, and she is almost consoling that the poor chap had to resign, so we have to take care of him, and so we have transferred him to another college, rather than taking strong measures, harsh steps. What became visible to people was that this attempt to cover up, to protect people who have been responsible. And from the beginning, after the 9th the number of, the amount of information that has come out in the public domain has made it very clear that this is not an isolated crime. It is linked to the systemic corruption in the healthcare sector. And just as has happened in other sectors, in education and in public distribution system, land and everything, people have responded to an unprecedented level in this case. And it doesn't look like it's going to die down anytime soon. So we are expecting that both the state government and the central government, the central agencies too, the CBI has been involved, has been appointed by the courts, by the High Court, and the Supreme Court has taken suo motu notice. But the previous record of the CBI has not been very bright. I hope that the CBI does perform its responsibilities this time and brings a closure. The closure has been missing in a number of high-profile corruption cases, which are still lingering on, and people are extremely angry about it. So there is a lot of anger all around. There is a lot of, annoyance in the people of the mind, in the mind of the people, and it's not going to go away anytime soon.
Good points there, Ambassador Mukherjee. West Bengal, for all the wrong reasons, whenever there are elections, also gets this image attached to itself of being extremely violent. Now, this is not the Bengal that we grew up speaking about or listening about. It was considered to be the high seat of intellect, of cultural integrity. All of that seems to be a distant past now, and this violence, this squalor of differentiating opinions seems to be the talk of the day. How does one go about changing that? I know it's difficult to talk about change when you have such a big problem staring down the barrel in West Bengal, but definitely that is not the path or the trajectory where a great state like West Bengal should be pushed into.
First of all, I agree with my co-panelists who say that this agitation is not going to die down because it's the spontaneous reaction of several whom I know who are not linked to any political party demonstrates widespread Bengali anger against a heinous crime of a young woman, 31-year-old woman, who was the hope and dream of her parents, the only child, and therefore public anger has spilled onto the street. Since we Bengalis are also highly political from the time we are born, it's in our DNA, we can't help it. As I'm sure my two co-panelists would agree with me, there cannot be anything in Bengal which is not linked to politics. So any public agitation, even if it is not political originally, will become political over time. But that is not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say, Vineet, is that Mamata Didi, as I call her, should understand that at a time of very risky developments in West Bengal's own neighborhood, across, where we are holding at bay millions who want to cross, 1.5 crore Hindus in Bangladesh, who feel their lives are in danger, apart from those associated with Awami League. At this point of time, when we have to look after the safety of the Northeast, we have to think about the chicken's neck. We have to think about the security of those living in the border districts across, who are being protected by the border security force and some other security forces that I will not mention on national television. This is not the time for anyone to throw a political tantrum. She should take the necessary administrative steps to reassure the people of West Bengal and India and their women that what happened and the attempts at a cover-up were very clumsy, that she as Chief Minister will ensure speedy justice, and that she will ensure that the situation comes back to normal by bringing out a series of measures which will reassure the lady doctors and let them go back to work. When she talks about public hanging, etc., she has to understand this is not Saudi Arabia. This is a country based on rule of law. The guilty will be tried and given a fair trial, like we gave to Ajmal Kasab before we hanged him. We don't believe in public execution. But there must be steps taken for a speedy trial so that the accused can be given a fair trial and then executed. Not executed from the tallest people tree in one of the streets of Calcutta, but a fair trial like in the rest of India. But she has to take responsibility as Chief Minister. She can't make a distinction between the rape and saying, bring the culprit, I'll hang him in public. That's not how it works. So what she is doing is what I would call a knee-jerk reaction. Durga Puja preparations will start 2 weeks from now. The whole of Calcutta is one big cauldron. She needs to bring the temperature down. She needs to calm things down. That is something which only she can do as Chief Minister of West Bengal. And if she doesn't do it, then things will become more complicated as Bengalis get into what we call our annual puja rituals, etc. They will start shortly. They will start in 10 days' time, if I'm not mistaken. They start much earlier in Kolkata than they do in Delhi. So she has to bring the temperature down. It's her call. Nobody else can do it for her. Only she can do it. And the faster she does it, the better. And the cooler she remains, the better for the security of West Bengal and for India.
Absolutely. And Abhishek, being the Chief Minister of a state like that is obviously a great responsibility. Rather, it's a responsibility for every Chief Minister. But the fact of the matter is, I'm going to in fact take a leaf out of what I also spoke about, with Bhasmati ma'am, is obviously the cultural residue of West Bengal and how that is perhaps being eliminated, how that is being tarnished as a result of political anguish and political aspirations as well. How do you feel about that as a proud Bengali?
Yeah, so Vineet, one thing I would say is that West Bengal is obviously has a great cultural heritage. It is my own heritage as well. But I should also say that that political violence, unfortunately, has tarnished the history of Bengal for almost 70 years at this point. I mean, one should know. Everyone should know this. During the communist rule, by their own admission, by the admission of the West Bengal government itself, there were 28,000 political murders in West Bengal. So the state has seen an extreme amount of political violence, and I will directly say that because West Bengal was always ruled by so-called liberal secular forces, there was a conspiracy of silence around the culture of violence that has developed in West Bengal. And such things can change. We remember that Bihar in the 1990s was characterized by what was called Jungle Raj. Yes, Bihar has huge problems even today. But that level of political violence, boot capturing, that kind of thing no longer happens in Bihar. And as Bhasmati ma'am said, we are Bengalis, we are political, and I believe that a political change in Bengal would probably change the culture of the state as well.
All right, let me take that same question to Abhishek. I beg your pardon, Chandrachud as well. Chandrachud, is the legacy at risk here? And what can a Chief Minister do to restore it, or to contain it, or to maintain it, despite all the odds that she's facing?
Well, it is not going to be an easy task, because the downward slope has been going on for far too long. And I mean, if I might simplify, if the Bengal Renaissance was the peak of Bengali culture, probably we are at the bottom point. And to turn around from there is going to take a humongous effort from all well-wishers of Bengal and Bengali people, because there is a lot of anger within the state who realize now that the lack of jobs are biting. Those who are with skills and talent, they are leaving the state. And within the state, there is very little to do. And that's why the culture of, these phrases have now become famous across the country, of cut money, taking shares of stealing money from the central projects and everything. It's just somehow maintaining a cadre base with the help of that, and with barrage of corruption charges coming even from the central government, where they have stopped funding central projects. So it's a matter of shame. People are realizing it. And while there is anger building up in one section of the educated society, on the other hand, there is an anger building up against the central government because of the political messaging that is being done by the ruling party within the state. So it's unfortunately it's a state of conflict that we are seeing within the state, and this has to change. This has to change. Statesmanship has to take over mere political self-interest, short-term interest, and that has to come both from the chief minister and the central government. There has to be a collaborative effort, but that is a very, very difficult task as it looks right now. I don't know how far that is going to be possible. And things don't look too bright. I mean, I am not a pessimist, but being a realist, things don't look too bright. And this is going down the path of confrontation. This is not going down the path of collaboration. This
Chandrachud, what about the Bangladesh threat? You know, there is also considered to be some sort of a spillover that could impact, you know, the not only the image but the status of West Bengal in terms of its security and law and order.
Absolutely, Vinit. And as a man said, that Bengal being a border state and with huge security implications, I mean, one can keep talking about the security threats that have been building up over a period of time. But a few weeks ago, Bangladesh has seen a revolution, a turmoil, complete change in political structure. And there is a spillover. There is always an expectation, a threat of spillover of that disturbance into the bordering state, into the bordering country. There will be refugees, there will be other kind of infiltrations, and there is a huge security aspect of this. And in that situation, if the head of a province stands up and starts issuing threats about destabilizing the Northeast, the Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, and burning the state and all these kind of very inflammatory rhetoric, then it creates a further destabilizing situation, and that's not wise statesmanship at all. That's
Absolutely.
very immature. That's very paranoid kind of politics.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.